Hey, welcome to our little Fox 411 and Kiss Country neighborhood news. This is all brought to you by CG Public Health, by the way, located out the Plaza West Shopping Center or cghealth.com. Quick way to look them up, find out what's going on here. Today's guest, Tyler Anderson. We haven't talked to him for a while.
We haven't. We talked a lot before being on air, but yes, before that's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a while. Yeah, and we've actually talked to you, I want to say once or twice about your side hustle with Elmwood Cemetary, right?
Yeah. The side hustle, the full time gig for sure. It's been it's been a lot of fun. Been the department head cemetery manager for the last 2 years at Elmwood St. Joseph Municipal Cemetery. We're not the one on the highway. We're the one, I would say, we're the one by the old Sears or across from the original Quick Star in Mason City. So got some landmarks there.
There you go. Yeah. Well, what's going on here? You have something coming up in June. Well, actually all summer, June, July, and August, kind of a new theme, and you're doing it with the library, right?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on to kind of share some information about it. So we about a year ago, we started a journey where the tagline when I took over, the mission statement of the cemetery was beautiful, sacred, and historic, which great things to have for a cemetery, but it just seemed a little static, like there's so many stories and interesting people in the cemetery that, we wanted to kind of pivot slightly to still honor the past, to still, honor, the history and just preserving the loved ones. But our new tagline is a beautiful setting to celebrate life and history. And so what that has allowed us to do is to start sharing stories in a more intentional way. I think we take for granted that North Iowa, Mason City especially, so many of us love the community for a variety of reasons, but we kind of forget that there's a backstory. It's like oh, that took time to get here. So part of that, we did a series for a year called Throwback Thursday, where each Thursday we highlighted someone that was buried in Elmwood that made a really significant impact or had an interesting history. So we talked about an Italian immigrant that ran a candy and fruit shop for years and years. We've talked about families that immigrated from Mexico that sold English-speaking books to get up here. We've talked about some of the more iconic people, the Nelson family, Meredith Wilson, all just a wide variety to kind of get people thinking like, whoa, there's a lot more going on here than just what I do day to day, that our history is rich and honestly full of surprises. And so last year at the History Walk, we changed the format a little bit. Instead of walking around the cemetery at night, we did a standalone event. We worked with the Higgins brothers and brought the Muse North stage, and we did brought in the hats. It was a ton of fun, and we had a great response from that. Just storytelling in different ways. And so we got done with our year commitment of the Throwback Thursday series. The videos, we've had a little over 10,000 views between them all. So there's been a lot of interest locally. A lot of people that call and ask questions, following up on our 2-3 minute video. On top of doing it online, we worked with KCMR to push it out in the Globe Gazette. So try to get out in a variety of different formats. And so we've had people stop in the cemetery and say, hey, I still get the Globe Gazette because on Thursday I get to hear a local story for once. So it's been wonderful, So in that same line, we wanted to kind of mix it up. And so we're doing a kind of a 3-part series throughout the summer called Throwback Thursday Live. And our theme for the History Walk this upcoming fall, at the end of September, is World War II. And when you say World War II, everyone's got some sort of a connection, I think, still, especially if you are 30 or older. You knew somebody that served, or you knew about that time frame. I mean, it's such a dynamic part in history. I mean, it's you hear these stories about how everyone really linked arms to get the job done. Like there was no like, well, but I don't believe the same thing they do, or oh, but I'm vegan, or I'm this. It's like, no, all hands on deck. What's it going to take to end this war? And right. So the stories that come out of that are fascinating. I mean, like little things like the Girl Scouts during World War II. The reason why there's button-up vests instead of zippers is because they took all the zippers off the vest to give to the war effort. There's just little stories like that people don't realize. Like, the men, a lot of the men were off at war. A lot of the women were in factories, like anything from making ammunition to, they covered a lot of bases too. And so what we realized was that the subject is so big. World War II is such a big subject. There's so much to talk about that not only did we want to do a history walk featuring different people, we also want to give people a chance to share their stories, about World War II, whether they had someone in their life that was a veteran, whether they remember stories that their mom told them about how challenging it was on, just on the home front or anywhere in between. And so we've got a really simple application process for folks to fill out. We kind of want to get an idea for what the subject material is, so we kind of fit them in appropriately with these 3 different times. And so it's June 9th, July 7th, and August 4th, 10:30 on all 3 of those days at the Mesa City Public Library, the Mesa City Room. Ginger's Coffee is bringing a different snack each time and some fresh brewed black coffee. And so we wanted to kind of create these platforms for people to kind of share their story. We've kind of done some storytelling in the last year. We feel like it's a great chance for us to kind of start allowing other people to share their story as well.
Yeah, we put up the flyer here on the side. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So what is the cost then to do all this and be a part of this?
Yeah, completely free to attend. So if you just want to come listen to different stories, come on out. If you feel comfortable sharing, we'd love to get in contact with you. My contact information is at the bottom of the screen. But you can reach us at the Elmwood St. Joseph Cemetery office. We're open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. Office number is 641-421-3687. Or they can email me personally, elmwood@mesacity.net or tcanderson@mesacity.net.
I think it's going to be great, Tyler, to have people just show up and listen rather than share so much, because I think you're probably going to have some notables there that have stories to tell, but I think it would just be more interesting to go listen, because let's take for example, like my father's going to be 85 this year. And he was actually not Vietnam. He was actually part of the Korean War, which and all that stuff was like after World War II. But I think you're right. I think somebody knows somebody that was probably part of World War II that can actually.
My grandpa was.
Your grandpa was? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my grandfather was not, but yeah, I mean that's the stuff. And did you ever talk to your grandfather about that? Did he ever talk about World War II?
I was young, and so he died before we had a chance to really understand stuff. But the interesting thing about that, I mean, like his gun that he had is at right now at my parents' house that he used in World War II.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't take long to open up those local history books and find just out here, there are several hundred people that served World War II,
Yeah.
And, it's in a world that is we're so hot and cold, we're so divided, for us, I think, to share the story of it didn't matter if you were an immigrant from Italy, if you were white, you were African-American, it didn't matter. We need your help, It's really, that's been the interesting dynamic in it. It was just it was a chance for immigrants to become citizens, to get on the fast track to citizenship. It was an opportunity. Imagine being married at 21 and being plucked up and going over there. All these unknowns, and it's not like today where we can see real time what's going on in Ukraine, what Russia's doing. You're waiting for the ink to dry the next day in the newspaper, and that news is probably 3 days old. You know what I mean? It took time to get to. Yeah. So it's, I just think, for us, we just kind of want to set the tone of this is how it actually was, and it's not that long ago. It's not even 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think there's so many stories to tell within that, and we didn't want to limit it to just one day. We thought, man, let's see what how the public reacts to something like this. Is it something we could do, occasionally? Again, in that effort to pivot away from just beautiful, sacred, historic, which we still believe in at the cemetery, but by switching it to being that beautiful place or beautiful setting to celebrate life and history, we can talk about those things, and it's a great way to celebrate the lives of so many people that gave their all or gave, risked it all at the very least, and also just those people that stayed in Mason City or North Iowa. We don't want to even limit it necessarily. Oh, if you're outside of Mason City, if you have listeners that are from Clear Lake or from Manly, or if they want to be a part of it. For us, it's just that storytelling. It's more important that we are creating that platform than we are Mason City only. We want to really open it up to area communities to start those conversations.
And when you and I, Tyler, we talked here last week, we said, or actually earlier this week, let's get on this now, because it would be nice to have people call you that do have the stories that want to share. And if you're watching this on social media or YouTube or whatever, then you can see the information that you can contact Tyler at. Otherwise, you can, if you're listening to the podcast version of it on on our Foxcast or over on Kiss 98.7 KissCountry.com. This is the information if you want to give them a call. 641-421-3687. All right, 641-421-3687, or TC Anderson at masoncity.net is an email. And I have a feeling you might get more emails than you probably will phone calls.
Yeah.
They want to share their own story right there on email, even.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. I mean, yes, to that point, we've had some people that have said, "Hey, I don't really feel comfortable sharing my story. I'm not good in front of a crowd, but I'd love to share the story in general." I mean, either myself or our cemetery board president she's got a national recognized certificate for like being a tour guide out of the cemetery, and she's one of us who would be happy to even just share the story on their behalf too. If you just want that story out, but maybe we've had some people that say it's too emotional to share. I mean, maybe, a reason why some people haven't shared their story is there's a lot there. We respect that. But I just think it's so important to keep those stories going, keeping them alive, and it gives us. I think it gives people here and now a great perspective. I mean, that's been one incredible part of being a part of the Throwback Thursday journey the last year is, I got to understand stories of people that came here in the late 1800s, to establish Mason City. And, it just gives us perspective. And we're in a world now where if I want anything, I can get it in 2 days or less.
Right.
I don't have to build anything anymore. I don't have to, what I mean? I mean, it's
sometimes 20 minutes or less. Yeah.
Right. I mean, really, it's like, I mean, I've caught myself complaining like, oh, Amazon said 2 days and it took 3. I'm like, well, I'm such a weenie, So I think, it's great to have that perspective. Like Mason City was not built in 2 days. I mean, it was something that took a long time, and look at the incredible fruit from those stories, like,
right. Yeah.
You drive around downtown, you don't realize that those buildings are very old and they started somewhere, that it's just fascinating to kind of learn those stories, and it adds color to what might just be a black and white type of a situation. It just really adds a lot of dynamic experiences, and it makes you appreciate our community even more, I think, when you understand all the work that led to this point.
It's called Throwback Thursday Live. I like the little tie-in with that, keeping the their legacies alive. Is what you're doing. June 9th, July 7th, and August 4th, free to attend, 10:30 to noon at the Mason City Public Library in the Mason City Room. Jay, you have any more questions?
No, it's just fascinating. I can just sit here and listen to Tyler just talk and tell some stories. And like I said, I wish I had time to get out there to hear some of the stories, because as I get older, Tyler, I'm fascinated more and more with history, and especially when you realize what different communities have, like like Mason City or other places that we visited and we have vacation to, even going to Nashville, those kind of things. Every town has its story.
Yeah. I mean, it's you don't just add water and something grows. There's a lot more to it, and I guess I will mention too that we're planning on recording all of the different sessions, and we want to segment them out where they're available story by story online as well. So if someone misses one, they want to check it out. We want to again, that's a great way to keep the story alive and puts legs on it. Like you guys know, I mean, You know, when
Yeah.
you record something and put it down, you can rewatch it, you can share it. You know, it takes a different life upon itself, and the story can take legs like that. So we want to definitely do that as well to continue to share those stories and get them out.
And I think it's always important to embrace learning. I mean, first of all, I don't care who you are. You should never say you've heard it all and I have nothing more to learn. And that's a bunch of crap, because we can always learn something every single day, and just embrace it, and sometimes it's good if you're finding yourself, well, I don't know if I'd be interested in something like that because, of whatever reason. Then I challenge yourself to say, get out of yourself and go learn something, go do something different like this.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I like John Maxwell, the leadership guru. He's got 1.5 million books out there, but he talks about, how he defines a good day is that I've learned something and I've served people, because that's a good day, you know? And I think this is a great way to learn something. And how many times have you driven by downtown or by, the brick and tile building, or, you don't know anything about that story. And it changes the respect level of the community, and helps you better understand, like, oh, there's so much more to this, and it's interesting, how many times have you scan on your phone, or, on TV, that you see the History Channel, you're fixated. You're like, huh, I didn't realize that, like Mount Rushmore, it took forever to do that. I never thought about how hard that might be. I just see it everywhere, so it just adds a lot more to it when you know the backstory.
Tyler, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, you betcha. This has been the Fox 411 and the Kiss Country Neighborhood News. Tune in for all of these, all dealing with nonprofit or free things that are going on, like this is the Throwback Thursday Live at Elmwood. St. Joseph Cemetary that is presenting at the May City Public Library. And we appreciate CG Public Health for sponsoring this, cghealth.com. So adios, gentlemen. Thank you.